People love stories. People still love to get lost in a good story. When you're reading a book, you're the one pacing the story and giving the characters their voices and their appearance. A good book will help the reader feel at home with their own imagination. Book design is something that we don't often think about. The book is actually doing work to eliminate distractions for the reader. And it's doing its best to present the content in a way that is beautiful, inviting, and makes the story the center of the reader's experience. Why is it that people love stories so much, and yet they view reading the biblical literature as a chore? When we pick up a Bible, we see an incredibly daunting spread in front of us. We see a ton of text on each page so that it takes us forever to be able to turn a page. The paper is just so extraordinarily thin, you almost tear a page every time you turn one. We see very large chapter numbers and verse numbers strewn throughout the text, which, though practical, are not conducive for a rich reading experience. Could it be that the encyclopedic nature of our contemporary Bibles is what's driving this idea that the biblical literature is dry and boring? There should be an alternative. We should be able to experience these texts in their original form as literary works of art, and we should be able to sit down and lose ourselves in them like we would any good book or any classic literature. I've decided to call this project BIBLIOTHECA, and BIBLIOTHECA is the Latin word for library. And obviously it ties into the word Bible. And the word Bible we get from the Latin word biblia, which means books. It's a plural word. It's not really until the Middle Ages that we start seeing the entire biblical library contained in one volume. And it's not until even much later that we start seeing it as a common thing. What if we just said, this is a lot of text, so we should just separate it into several volumes? BIBLIOTHECA is 4 volumes. The first volume is the 5 books of Moses and the former prophets. The second volume is the latter prophets. The third volume is the writings. And then the 4th volume is the New Testament. Each one is about the size of a modern novel, something you can grab and throw in your bag and take with you. Before the printing press, the Bible was made into these beautiful manuscripts. Everything from the crafting of the paper to the mixing of the ink to the type of handwriting that they used was holy, was set apart. It's in the spirit of that holy approach to the text that I've designed a typeface exclusively for use with this project. It seemed fitting to me, because the Bible was passed down through the ages as a handwritten text, to incorporate my own hand, sort of the tendencies and the movements of my own hand into my typeface. A lot of the books we see today are just bound with glue. When you open the spine, the pages are all still sticking straight up and you're really just bending the page around in your hand. What's great about a sewn binding is that it opens flat and kind of bends back when you open the book, so that you can set it down and look at it without having to push back the pages with your thumbs. The translation I'm using is the American Standard Version. I like the American Standard Version because it is relatively literal. It's actually closer to the original languages than the King James Version was before it, and than many of our modern translations are after it. I've eliminated these, thous, haths, doths, and I've replaced them with modern equivalents like you and does. The proportions of the book are based on the measurements for the Ark of the Covenant, which are specified in Exodus. 1.5 cubits wide by 1.5 cubits deep by 2.5 cubits long. And so I've taken that measurement to create the page. And then I've taken that same unit and doubled it to make the text block. I'm peeling away all the added conventions like chapter numbers and verse numbers, cross-references, and study notes. So all you're going to see on the page is the story and a page number. It's geared towards an enjoyable reading experience. It should be elegant, it should be simple, it should be pure. If this is something that you're excited about, and you want to see it made, and you want to hold it in your hand, or you want to give it to your friend or your family member, then this is something that I'm asking you to contribute to. In order to make the manufacturing of this book economically feasible, I have to hit a minimum number, basically paying for the cost of materials and production and shipping. Every dollar of the minimum goal will go back into the production of the books. So we're talking about 500 sets, at least, of 4 books, which is 2,000 books. And that's a big expense. And that's why the minimum is where it is. And that's why I need your help. Now, if we don't hit the minimum, the way this works is I don't get any of your contributions. So if this is something you want to see made, if this is something you want to see become a reality, I'm asking you to tell your friends and your family about it, that you post it, that you share it. In my opinion, a book is to be cherished. A book is a precious artifact that should last you a long time, that should span generations in your family. I want to give people the opportunity to read the biblical library with a fresh set of eyes, to sort of experience it anew.